been more cemented in. The next day was the primary, and we had somewhere between 18 that I have knowledge of and 40 school board candidates running on an anti-Common Core platform that won or advanced. And we have House candidates like Jennifer Sullivan and Julio Gonzalez that won on an anti-Common Core platform. The testing backlash grew. Lee County made a big effort to, because of the cost, the unfunded mandates, the increased frequency of tests, the stress on teachers and students and the district, they actually voted to opt out. That caused an uproar all across the state, and the state then threatened them with loss of federal funding, loss of state funding, and and that kids would not graduate. And this is what the governor said about that. They have to look at the unintended consequences of their decisions. What is that going to do to their students? Are they going to be able to get into the best universities? Are they going to lose federal funding? So the man just said, we don't want the federal government interfering in our education system, is kowtowing to the federal government because of No Child Left Behind and Race to the Top. This rebellion has made it up to the State School Boards Association, and they are right now contemplating resolution language to deal with this issue, including a resolution to compel the legislature, strongly recommend that they pass freedom from these testing mandates, and that's ongoing. The fact is that Governor Scott does have a poisonous Common Core problem. Next slide. These are the results from the Secretary of State on the primary. Governor Scott had a lot of votes, but he lost 116,000 votes by two almost unknown, completely underfunded candidates that, at least one of which opposed Common Core. That is more than his margin of victory 4 years ago when he had major Tea Party support. Next slide. And there is great activist concern, and there is anger and lack of enthusiasm. This is a quote from a letter from two longtime Republican activists that said, "Our children are too important. If you do not renounce Common Core and remove it from the state of Florida, we will not vote for you. If Charlie Crist wins because of this, it is not our fault but yours." And that sentiment is rising. So what can we do? We can pressure the governor. We can support these school board candidates. We can urge school boards to notify parents of already existing rights to opt out. The memos that came from the School Boards Association are misleading and incomplete. I have copies which I will distribute of a summary of the facts. And there is a 10-page paper on our website that has much more detailed information about that, as well as the statutory and constitutional violations of the current testing system in Common Core. We need to be able to educate parents about opting out, and you're going to hear about that this afternoon from ladies from Opt Out Orlando. We need to pursue real bills on state sovereignty, local control, prohibiting psych testing and data protection, and we need to look into potential legal challenges, which is an ongoing effort. They say that the train has left the station, but it's not the train. It's not the pro-Common Core train, and it is the anti-Common Core train. And we have got to stand together and unite to make sure that they understand that. Thank you.
Who is a native Floridian, grew up in Pensacola, has been a Vero Beach resident since 1989. She's a mother of 3 boys, Evan, 23, Samuel, 20, and Coleman, 18, with her late husband, Representative Stan Mayfield. Debbie was elected to Florida House of Representatives in 2008 and was subsequently re-elected to represent District 54, which includes all of Indian River County and northern St. Lucie.
Thank you so much, and I always hate following Karen because she's such a wealth of information. It's unbelievable, and I have depended on her a lot through this process. First, I want to introduce my fiance, Bob Scaringe, Dr. Scaringe. He has been a true supporter of me through this process, and as anyone knows, and Jennifer, you'll learn this as you go along, if you don't have someone back home that supports you, it's really hard to do this. And Bob, I want to thank you for supporting me and keeping me on track on things that's really important. And the education of our children is very, very important. The way I got engaged in this process was after session, not this past session, session before last, I had a group of parents came into my office and they asked me, what did you know about Common Core? And I had to shamefully say I didn't really know a whole lot about Common Core. So they started to inform me about what Common Core was about, and it was starting to show up in the classroom. So I did some research on it, and Karen eloquently laid out how that whole process started from 2010 and how it ended up into our school system. So I filed my bill, House Bill 25, and the purpose of the bill was to slow it down, was to get parent and teachers' involvement, to let parents know what this was about, and to also find out how much money it was going to cost the state of Florida to be engaged in this. And the more that I got into it, I realized that this isn't standards as people sold this to be. It is a method of a way of teaching standards. And that's where the big difference is there. The state of Florida has state rights, and that's what we should be focusing on, is our state rights. And people are really missing the big picture on this. Whenever we were offered money for Medicaid expansion, we as a state said no. We weren't going to take that money. We were going to take care of our people in the state of Florida ourselves, because we did not want the federal intrusion in, and we did not want to have to be beholden to the federal government on what type of insurance we provided to our citizens in Florida. Well, Common Core is the exact same thing. And so it's really mind-boggling to me how we can take $1.5 billion from the federal government for the education of our children, and we can't see that it's the same thing. We are beholden to the federal government on what we need to do. And one of the things that I feel that we can fight this, and Karen touched on it, is this starts at the local level. It starts with the school board members. And I've had so many school board members tell me, we can't do anything because the state tells us what to do. Our hands are tied. Well, then stop doing that. Start fighting. And Lee County was the first school district to really stand up and say, we're not going to do these assessments. And unfortunately, they reversed their decision on it, but that is the first step. And that's what we need to do, is get school board members engaged and let the state know we're not going to do this. And when people talk about, well, you have to, it's legislated, it's in the statute, it's like, well, we put it there. We can take it out. And that's what people are missing. So when they say you have to do it this way, well, no, we can't. We don't have to. We can change the law. That's what we do up there. We change the law. And so that's what I would encourage everyone to do. Continue to work with your school board members. We had 2 new school board members elected, and they were both anti-Common Core school board members. So in Indian River County, we're hoping that we're going to start seeing some changes as well. When Karen was talking about the School Board Association, and they are, they don't, and we're talking about bringing groups together. Well, the School Board Association is against Common Core for different reasons than what we're against Common Core. But that's okay. If we can get together and find that common ground and get them to fight with us, then we have more of a chance to do it. But we do way too much testing. The teachers are not teaching the way that they want to teach to their children based on the children in their classroom. They're teaching based on how they're being told to teach. And so that is what they're upset about, as well as all the assessment. So, one of the things I hope to do this next session, and working with Karen and working with your new state legislator, Representative Sullivan here, is to come up with some legislation that we can make a difference. Whether we start with baby steps of opting out of these assessments and letting them come up with their own assessments. But I'm going to tell you, the biggest thing that we can do is to stop taking the money from the federal government. Put a plan together. That we can start easing out of this $1.5 billion that we get from the government to educate our children. That's where we really need to start and be focused on to get out of it. So, I want to thank all of you guys for coming. I look forward to our panel today after lunch and kind of go through some of the steps that maybe we can do to get legislation going this next session. And I know Miss Jennifer there is going to be, she'll have my bag this year when people last year didn't have it. That was sitting in the hallways with me. But thank you very much.
Well, good morning again. Thank you, Representative Mayfield, for your kind words, and Dr. Effrem for coming as well. Common Core is a huge issue, as we all know, and I ran a campaign against it based on the conversations that I had at the door with people, and that was really our effort and how we were able to get elected. It's grassroots. And so what I want to spend just a few minutes that I was just given is talking about how you win a race, because I've worked since 2010 on several races for really great candidates. And it's really disheartening when you have a fantastic candidate and you work really hard and you lose. And there are some fantastic people out there that I've seen not get elected even though they had grassroots, and that's because they didn't have the money. And what I took away from that was the fact that you cannot win, you cannot overcome big money without strong grassroots, but you can't overcome it not having any money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when I put together my plan to victory, and it was a 20-page plan, it was a plan for having strong grassroots, and it was a plan to raise money. And in my race, you'll notice, I still didn't raise the most money, but we raised over $70,000 for a House seat. And that is a lot of money at the end of the day. And because of that, we were able to have a presence in the mailbox to all the homes that we weren't able to knock on due to them being gated or in rural areas. And so what I want to encourage you is, as you're looking for those candidates, as you're looking for those quality people to be able to get behind and support, it's so important. It's easy to have that message of, well, we're not going to sell out to special interest groups. We want to be beholden to the people only. And that's something that I ran on. But I want people to know, specifically the people in this room, because you are the people that are going to make the difference in this state. You are the people that are going to make the difference in getting those quality people elected and turning the face of the state of Florida. I truly believe that. And so I want you to have a realistic picture that while it's being presented that I won on grassroots alone, which is true, I had an incredible ground game with over 150 people. If in the last 3 to 4 weeks of the race, we did not have other partners that got behind us and put us on TV, we would not have won the race. And that doesn't mean that I sold out to anyone. That means that I ran a campaign that when the time came and the polls were done, that had walked my way into first place. And at that point, I had the freedom to say, you're more than welcome to join my team. If you want to be on the winning team, you are welcome. But you better know that I am sold out to the people. And so if you want to join me, know that what I'm going to be working to do is to represent the people and their causes and what's important to them. And so if you believe that that's going to help you as a business or as an organization, as I'm putting their concerns first, then please feel free, jump on board, support our efforts, give us money because we need it. And that's how we ended up being able to win this race and overcome being outspent, by those who raised $150,000, $170,000 while we only raised $70,000. So my encouragement would be to you that as you're working with candidates, as you're out finding candidates, as you're out working on campaigns from the beginning, make sure that candidate realistically understands that money is an issue and that you can't win without raising a good amount of money. But you don't have to raise the most, and that's what's key. You can win a race being outspent considerably if you have a good ground game, if you have a message that's connecting with voters and putting people first, if you've walked yourself into first place, because then towards the end, everyone wants to jump on board the winning race.
Yes.
And that's what happened with us. And so we had a message, we had a ground game, and we were able to fundraise and put ourselves in that place. And I just want to thank every person in this room, you know who you are, who helped win this race, who believed in me from the beginning, and over the past several years has invested in me and the Lake County as a whole to give me the opportunity that I have today to now be a Tallahassee and represent you. So thank you.